How about that Spirit I Am band, y'all? I get to play music with a lot of really talented people. I was at Unity Village a couple of weeks ago with Christy Snow, Reverend Christy Snow. Some of y'all know her. She's fabulous. Amy Steinberg, Reverend now, Amy Steinberg. She's amazing. She's the Bette Midler of New Thought for me. Like, she is like out there, right? But there is nothing like playing for me with the Spirit I Am band. We just have a magic and a chemistry. I grew up playing in bands. When I was 14 years old, I played at a square dance with my dad every Saturday night. We had a fiddle player. I learned how to square dance and all that. I learned while I was gone that y'all renamed me Reverend Jerry Lee Meyer. And I want to give a shout out to Reverend Bob for the good job that he did delivering the 12 Powers messages on will and zeal. So thank you, Bob. That was great. He brought it up a notch. So thank you to everybody that keeps things rolling while I'm not here. Like, I don't have to worry about what's happening here when I'm away, because y'all got this, right? We are an inclusive spiritual community. And community in unity means that everybody is valued, everybody is welcome, everybody has a part to play, and it's not just based on one person, right? It's all of us together. Yeah, so tell somebody, thank you for showing up today. Because your very presence is a blessing. Your presence is a blessing. Can we say, my presence is a blessing? Can we say that? Absolutely, absolutely, 100%. So I have been a member of the International New Thought Alliance since 2010. The International New Thought Alliance, INTA for short. So the INTA is an umbrella organization for all different kinds of New Thought organizations. So how many knows that unity is part of a larger movement called the New Thought movement? Yes, some of us. Unity is part and one of the biggest players in the New Thought movement, but there's a lot of other people that are also studying, practicing, teaching the same principles that we teach here. And the basic principle is God is all there is, and I am all that God is. Can we say that? God is all there is, and I am all that God is. Tell somebody, you are all that God is. Wow, yes, yes, yes. So that's what New Thought teaches and practices, and we're also all about change your thinking and change your life. If we hold on to positive thoughts, that's not saying that we don't have negative thoughts, because you will probably until the day you lay this body down. Your brain likes to talk to you about things, sometimes pleasant, sometimes not so pleasant. But true freedom, true mastery is being able to follow the thought that you choose. To not be trapped in the conditioning of your mind. Like, be renewed by the transforming of your mind. So we have the power to choose what thought we follow. And we practice that together in New Thought. Sometimes I'm very successful at it. Sometimes not so much. It's a practice. It's a spiritual practice. And the more that we get together like this and practice together, the easier it becomes to follow the positive thought, to not deny when we're having a hard time, to not say, oh no, it's like the unity minister who went to hell and he kept affirming, it is not hot, I am not here. It is not hot, I'm not hot at all. No, we have unpleasant things that happen in our lives, but do we focus on that, or do we hold firm to the truth that God is always good, I am good, that there's no opposite in God, that God is all there is and I am all that God is. So we keep coming back to that all the time. And that's what all New Thought organizations are about. And everybody has their different way of approaching it. And that's why I like the INTA so much. There are other organizations that do something similar. Here's a lot of alphabet for you. The AGNT, Agent, Association for Global New Thought. They're also an umbrella organization for different New Thought, you could even say denominations. There's ANTN, ANTN, the affiliated New Thought Network. Whew. So I'm in the INTA. Unity Savannah is a member of the International New Thought Alliance, and by God's grace, I'm on the board of the International New Thought Alliance. And I never woke up and said, I want to be a Unity minister. I never woke up one day and said, I want to move to Savannah and be the spiritual leader there. And I never woke up one day and said, I want to be on the board for the INTA. This is God at work. Like I was invited, recruited, like get in there, get to work with all of this stuff. So I've been on the board for the last 3 years, and one of our main functions, the INTA, is we have a Congress every year. So INTA has been around for 110 years. Unity co-founders Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were affiliated with the INTA at one time. A lot of other New Thought founders like Ernest Holmes were also affiliated with it. One of the things that I love so much about the annual Congress that the INTA puts together every year is that it brings together all different kinds of New Thought organizations. And even on our board, we have divine science ministers. We have CSL, Center for Spiritual Living ministers. We have UFBL, Universal Foundation for Better Living ministers, the organization that was started by Dr. Johnny Coleman in Chicago. We have a Unity minister from Nigeria that's part of the board. So we are truly an international organization. And that's very exciting to me. I get to be together with once a year with other people who are in the New Thought movement that are doing the same things that we are, practicing, learning, teaching the same principles that we are. But I get to hear about it from a different perspective, and it opens my mind. And so while I was at the INTA Congress at Unity Village a couple of weeks ago, there were 4 members of Unity of Savannah that were also there attending, and one person kept saying, "My mind is blown. This is blowing my mind." So I thought instead of me talking about my experience, it would be really interesting to hear their perspective, their experience. So we're going to bring each person up in alphabetical order by their last name to share a little bit about what they experienced while they were at the INTA Congress at Unity Village. And we're going to start with our board president. Can we have a hand for Darlene Beasley?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Rev Dale. You know how much I love being on the podium. It's always an opportunity to heal trauma from being a preacher's kid. So thank you for that opportunity today. This was my first time at Unity Village, and the energy there is just very powerful, very magical, very peaceful, and it's very beautiful there. And so if they had a beach, I might consider moving there, but they don't. So I'm here. We had lots of activities. My favorite probably was the nighttime labyrinth walk that we did as a group. It was very powerful and transformative. We had time in the Peace Chapel. We went to the prayer garden. They have stones to represent all the 12 powers. That was a really powerful experience to walk those. I got to learn and be inspired by all sorts of knowledgeable and powerful people throughout the New Thought movement who shared their information and their hearts. I think probably our members that went, our group that went, and my sister who joined us were the only congregants that were there. We were surrounded by all sorts of reverend doctors and just all sorts of people who had long-term experience in New Thought and just poured that stuff on us. So, one of the things that Rev Dale is very gifted at is engaging all of us. And so I want to thank him for including us, the membership, to go out there and experience this. It was, we were just as welcome. There was never any up or down levels. And the way that Rev Dale does include us is, just a big demonstration of the inclusiveness of our community. And I really appreciate that. I got to meet in person some of the people I've followed for years and never met, Jim Blake and Mark Fuss. And I feel like Jim Blake is just such he is such a peaceful, kind, just a grounding spirit for me. And so I follow him on Facebook, and I like to hear what he has to say. And it was just really nice to get a hug from him and to have that and experience that energy in person. Amy Steinberg, she is so amazing. And I know she's been here and I've watched her, but I've never met her in person. So that was not only powerful, but a lot of fun. She is so spontaneous in everything that she does that it just really inspires me. And then getting to know more deeply some of our community, Connie, Betty, Nancy, and just spending time with our own spiritual leader and Eric. That was a lot of fun. And just it just deepened my connection with everybody. And then making new friends and adding some powerful spirits to my network, Dr. Ruth Miller, David Leonard, who told us the secret that Rev Dale and Christy Snow don't really know how to behave. Rev Jackie and Reverend Sheila, and there were so many more. There were just some that really spoke to my spirit. And then, I got lots of hugs. There was a lot of laughter. We had a lot of fun. There was even a speaker on humor, which made us laugh a whole lot. And then to bring home that experience and that powerful, loving energy that permeated the entire conference has left me with a profound sense of gratitude and a real desire to deepen my walk. So thank you, Rev Dale, for including us. Thank you, everybody, for letting me share my experience.
Great. Thank you, Darlene. That was very powerful. And our next speaker is Connie Becker. Can we have a hand for Connie, please?
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's good to see everybody this morning. Hey, I didn't know my daughter was here. Wow, this was really a great experience. Everything Darlene said is just, that came out of my heart. And one of the most wonderful things was getting to know these other three ladies better. When I first got there, the first evening I walked in and I began to meet everybody. And like she said, everybody's name tag said, Dr. Reverend, Dr. Reverend. I thought, oh, well, they must be a speaker. And then, but I looked around and everybody was a Dr. Reverend. And I looked down at Darlene, so I thought maybe she's a Dr. Reverend and I don't know it, And I thought, am I really supposed to be here? Did Reverend Dale send me the right link? Was I supposed to sign up for this? And then I thought, wow, I am supposed to be here. And as I left and went back to my room, I said, you know what, girl? You better pay attention because this is going to be powerful. And it was. And I was the one whose mind was blown. I don't know if that's who you had in mind, but it was me. It was definitely me. Just a few highlights for me, and there were so many. It was so much. It was hard to wrap your head around everything. Dr. Ruth Miller, who Darlene mentioned, she keeps up with a lot of the archives and history of everything. And one thing she went over very, very quickly was a chart. And it was a chart about New Thought and going way back in history where we picked up some of those new thoughts. And there were some names at the top of that list. And they were names that I used to read when I was a young girl because I always wanted to be really smart, okay? So I would read certain people, and their names were at the top of that chart. It was Plato and Aristotle and Martin Luther, William Shakespeare. I used to love Ralph Waldo Emerson, and they were at the top of that chart. And she went by it really quick, and I was going, wait, I need that chart. So after she got through, I went and I said, will you share that chart with me? And I think she went by it so quick, and I wonder if anybody else got that, because that was huge for me, because those were readings that I had done that nobody really introduced me to. I just knew that Plato was somebody who was smart, and I wanted to be smart. A couple of things, coming from a fundamental background, growing up in a very solid church that thought everything was literal in the Bible, and the word salvation after time had a negative connotation for me, because to get salvation you had to do all these things that I could never be and do. So I have just sort of put the word salvation on the back burner. I don't like to talk about salvation because that's a childhood thing that was unachievable. But you know what came to me during this, and I don't know who said it or how it came to me. It could have been at one of the wonderful conversations about 6:30 in the morning when I went to get coffee, and one of Darlene and some of these reverend doctors were out there, and we had beautiful conversations with our coffee about 6:30 in the morning. What came to me is my salvation, for me, what I came to understand is my oneness with God. So it was oneness and connectedness that I got a better understanding of, because I don't know where I got it, but it came to me that I've always felt like God lives in me. God lives in me, okay? That's a unity teaching, right?
Yeah.
Okay? Well, you can go deeper than that. I don't know if this is right or not, but this is what I came to learn. It's deeper than that. God is not a separate entity in me. God is me. I am. God is me. And I came to understand that. And that's much bigger than God is in me. God is me. And that's how we get our connectedness. Because I've always wondered, how are we connected exactly? Are there little synapses like you have in your brain? No, we are all one, and that's our connectedness, and that is God. So that's just something that I walked away from. And maybe I should have known that years ago. I don't know. Another thing that was important to me, we had a social justice panel of women that were just incredible, that really spoke to me. And as I listened to them, they inspired me to step forward and do some things with social justice. And I hope I follow through with that. I do have a problem with commitment, but that's something I'm working with. Thank you. And you know, that night, I just felt like, that first night, by the way, I was sitting in a room, think about this, I was sitting in a room full of Reverend Dales. Oh my gosh. Woo! That was something. Talking about being overpowered. anyway, the social justice panel was wondering, and it also wonderful, and it also kind of gave me a thought about how social justice has so much to do with working on everybody's oneness and connectedness. Justice, social justice. Anyway, and I also came back searching for and wanting to go deeper and getting in touch with my truth. My truth. That can, for me, I realized that can go much deeper, and that's also has to do with living life without limits. Without limits. Woo, that's big too. That's like sitting in a room with a room full of Reverend Dales. So anyway, very quickly, our trip back happened to be on the 19th, the day all the technology went down. Okay, it's a good thing I'd been with New Thought for a week. Dr. Betty and I ended up on the same flights, as it turned out. Once we got on a flight, we had 18 minutes to make our connection in Atlanta. Well, of course, the first thing I did, we had to go from A to E, right? I jump off the plane and I start running as fast as I can, and I barely make it. And I thought, oh, I hope Dr. Betty made it. I hope Dr. Betty made it. And I'm sitting there, and here she comes just a few minutes later. And I said, oh, Dr. Betty, you made it. You made it. I said, how did you get here? How did you make it? And she said, I walked. Thank you, Reverend Dale.
Thank you, Connie. Wow. Yeah, my mind is blown. Our next speaker is another board member, Nancy Lonis. Can we have a hand for Nancy, please?
Hi, good morning, everyone. I brought the program from the 109th Annual World Congress of the International New Thought Alliance. And the title of the program was Evolve. And one of the speakers who I spoke to during the conference after she spoke was a minister from Washington, D.C., at the Unity of Washington, D.C. And her take on the Evolve was to elevate veracity, obeying, liberating energy. There was so much energy at this gathering of people. And not to repeat what the other lady said, I too felt, why am I here with all these really powerful people and degreed? And I arrived late, like midnight. My flight was canceled. I was 7 hours late. And I arrived after midnight, and I got in my room, and up on the walls of the room are writings and different affirmations, and mine said generous, prosperity. Over the television set, it said focus. And I never turned on the television set the entire time because I wanted peace, and I wanted to just be present. The bedding was wonderful. The pillows are great. The comforters. It was a cozy, peaceful, safe spot. I met Reverend Dr. Dale Leonard, who is one of Rev Dale's teachers, and Christy Snow's teachers, and he feels like a parent to you. I had been previously at a family reunion up in Michigan for 10 days with some of my crazy, wild family. And we had a wonderful time. There were 22 of us staying in a big house, and we had activities planned, and it was really a nice get together. But unfortunately, 3 days into the trip, when we had planned a sailing trip, and I got on the boat, and I wasn't on the boat too long where I fell on my face by accident, took a back step and missed the step. So I had this huge black eye. And I thought, wow, do I go home? Why would vanity put me in the way of this? I'm here. I'm going to have the best time I can with my family. And my daughter loaned me these round pink colored glasses like Yoko Ono. And when Rev Dale, I sent him a picture and I said, oh, you don't look so good. He said, oh, I'll see you. You'll heal. And he looked at me and goes, you're looking out of the world in rose-colored glasses. And I said, I am. I was so just grateful to be there. And Dr. Dale Leonard, Reverend David Leonard, is the sweetest man. I didn't think anybody could see my black eye, but he came up to me and put his hands on me. Because God loves your eye. God, I mean, just out of nowhere, I didn't know him. The man's got his hand in my face. He was so sweet, and I really enjoyed his presence. There were so many amazing speakers. The Power of Humor by Reverend Shane O'Shea. He was from New England, and he just made us all laugh of his tales and showing pictures of different church signs. I could pull up on my phone, but I probably won't take that long. But what I've really learned is to become still enough to remember who I am and really accept myself and love myself and know that God is within me. I don't think I've known this my whole life. I know I haven't. I really figured it out one day driving after I left here, driving down Skidaway, and it just hit me. I came to Unity about, I think it's been 10 years, and maybe a little longer, but I still consider myself a newbie. I'm learning, and I'm just absolutely enjoying everything I'm learning. I was grateful for our friends here that were at the conference, and the fellowship of everyone there was so wonderful. I didn't get the entire meal plan. I just did the dinners, so I got to dine for 3 nights. I did with just different groups of people that I hadn't known, or I just sat down, and it was so interesting where people were from and who I met. Spirituality of these people and their minds and the presence was really something to be grateful for. I do belong here, and I'm glad I'm here, and I have a higher purpose. And going back to the music was fabulous. Amy Steinberg is just a witty, smart, spontaneous musician. And with Rev Dale and Christy Snow on her flute, and the power of that. And on the final night that I was there, we walked the labyrinth in silence. And I believe, as I understand, it's the largest labyrinth in the United States. And the moon was out, and the lights and the fountains. It was just an incredible place to be, and know that that is where our center is. Our center is here, but there's even a bigger connected place that if you have an opportunity in your time here, please go visit. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. I really like, one day it just hit me driving down the road, keep coming back, because if it hasn't hit you yet, it will. So our last but not least, please help me welcome our final speaker, Dr. Betty McEady.
And you have heard about so many things that are at Unity Village. You know, the beautiful waterfalls, the 12 Powers stations, and the beauty and spiritual love of the campus, of nature. But you didn't hear about the boutique. It's like nobody, I don't know whether they spent money, but there's no way I can go where, no place I can go where there's a boutique where, oh, that means Betty. So not only this, so I got this shirt and I thought, oh, well, the word is balance. I need to balance it with something. Anyway, of course, Dale this morning was saying, oh, see my shirt? I thought, see my whole outfit. It's a Unity Village. So, words like enjoy, inspirational, enlightening, and the word across my wall in my room was rejoice. And that's what I did. I did rejoice in every moment. Actually, I've been to Unity Village 3 times. I never got a chance to stay on the campus, to actually stay in the lodging. So what does this allow for me, being able to stay in the lodging? Well, I could get up at 5:30 in the morning when the gym opened. I could walk over to the gym, because you have to get permission. I'd walk over to the gym, and it was larger than this room with just multiple machines for exercising. One time there was just one other person in there. So I felt like my gym. Walking across the campus, I would take the route that also allowed me to pass the waterfalls. And then of course the 12 Powers. Now the 12 Powers, this is a positive memory, but here are my great friends. Nancy wasn't there, so just kind of leave her out of this. They said, oh, this is later in the afternoon, we're gonna meet at the 12 Powers. I was like, okay, but I was having lunch at the time, and I said, I'll see you in a few minutes. And I walk over, and there's not one human being doing those 12 Powers. And I thought, well, this is interesting. I know they said this is where we're going to meet. So I walked twice. It's 24 times, right? And nobody showed. So something in me said, sit at the power, sit on that power bench, so that you will not be angry and you won't tell them off when you see them that they did not show. And Frances, which is Darlene's sister, oh, we are so sorry. We're so, no, Darlene was just smiling like, okay, we just weren't there. They just actually spent that time in the prayer, the building. The 12 Powers are around this tower, very tall building, so they were actually in there. That's okay. So the fun or the joyful part started with me because I arrived on Sunday and decided that after I discovered the gym and everything, and I did walk the labyrinth every morning alone, because morning is my alone time, and you could spend it in the spirit of God alone. But you're not alone. So the one of the fun parts for me is Dell just started this morning with these different organizations, and INTA. So I'm sitting on Monday morning. I look out in the breakfast area and I see a person that's that person is not an INTA person. I know him from ANTN. It's like the network, the affiliated New Thought Network. And he sees me and he comes in and he says, Betty, it's so wonderful to see you here. And he said, that's right, you're with Dale's church. I said, yeah. And he said, well, now I have been with ANTN for 2 years. On Zoom for 2 years. Because I like their call to prayer, which I participate in. I like the leaders, the speakers rather, that they call New Thought leaders that come to talk, and we can talk with them and ask questions. I have I've gotten 2 certificates. Says something about my learning. 2 certificates in affirmative prayer, because Dale doesn't know that yet, but in affirmative prayer through INTA. And so, however, when I went up front to say, well, is there anything I can do? You know, what is written across my forehead is what? Usher. And so the Anton person that was there, and he said, oh yeah, you can help us get things set up. So I did. I sat down, and then I met a new friend, Jackie. And Jackie, of course, is with INTA. I have to separate them, but they're not. The Unity Alliance. And so it took a lot to bring all of the details together. And she said, oh, you really are organized. Because I said, oh, no, let's have the name tags for the speakers here and everybody else on this side. Later on in the afternoon, or in the evening when people started arriving, it was, I could see surprise in my Unity friends' faces. Like, what are you doing? I was ushering. I was giving them their name tags, making sure I checked them off and checked them off for the right meal. And Jackie, meeting her, it was wonderful because we had all of this time to talk about exercising, to talk about New Thought, talk about Black women and their hair and so forth. It was wonderful. Later in the afternoon, when my friends are coming in, Dale comes in. Well, I'm so pleased that you have met Jackie and that you're enjoying this experience. So I thought, he doesn't know. I know a whole lot of people here. It's not just Jackie, and sure enough, later, Dale comes to me and he says, you know, I'll put his arms around you and has this smile. How do you know all of these people? And they know you too. And it's sort of like I'm standing there thinking, well, he's talking to me as though this is an extramarital unity affair that I'm having. And so you look at his smile and you don't know, I don't know whether he's saying, caught you, or I'm happy that you are also involved in ANTN as well as INTA. The Congress, which we were being entertained by and informed by and educated to a great extent. The joy of having Dale and Christy and stuff, and 2 months before we went to this event, I did ask him, "Oh, is the Congress going to invite you to do music?" Yes, I'll probably do 1 or 2 things. I could not believe here he is the center of music. And I said, Dale, you just led me to believe then that there was nothing more that you're going to do except 1 or 2 songs. And anyway, as the others have said, it was just fantastic. And I cherished every moment. And I also cherished the moment of the breakfasts because all of the Unity ladies, including Dave Leonard. Are you familiar with this song? Oh, the theme of our conversations. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. Well, I just couldn't believe it. From David to Darlene, and then Darlene has Frances there, her sister. So you know they're talking about the same dad, so it must be some truth in it. It's like all of us talked about how it is that later in life we met sisters and brothers that we never knew that we had. And so that was the theme, at least one morning, of this joy of the lives of our papas and how that influenced us in terms of ideas about marriage. The then came for me the connectedness of this concept. Now, of course, for Connie, she went to Aristotle and Socrates and so forth. Well, that's true. And it was that matrix that Ruth Miller presented to us. And I ended up having lunch with her because we sneaked around and found a place where nobody could see us so that we could talk. And the matrix also was, it portrayed a matriarch of New Thought, but it starts with a male. She calls it the matriarch of New, well, someone else called it the matriarch of New Thought. But it started with Phineas Quimby, who was the sort of the hypnotist, and from that he would connect that concept of New Thought. But actually, and I should have known this, it actually started in terms of religious beliefs. It started with Jesus. And when I went back, I said, well, of course, when you read the parables of Jesus' healing, it was about a moment of concentration and focus. And he wasn't throwing his hand on people's forehead and so forth. And if there was touching, I've got to go back and read the parable where there was touching. Because it was about concentration, deep concentration on spirit. On spirit, not on the pain that you're experiencing, not on the agony that you're experiencing, but the concentration on spirit, on God, on truth. And that's what, as for New Thought, that was the concept of New Thought that was sort of renewed for me. Because I remember years ago, I would ask, why is this called New Thought? And somebody would come up with Ralph Waldo Emerson and all of those transcendentalists. I said, well, that's not new. Wait a minute. That was in the early 20th century. So how is it new? But it's new, and as Connie has said, it is about the change in your way of thinking, even about the Bible. And so, as my friends who say that they grew up with fathers who were ministers and so forth, they were still Rolling Stones. But anyway, there was fathers who were ministers and so forth. They come to New Thought. Perhaps I came to New Thought not thinking that it really was about changing the way I think about situations, about myself, about life. So Ruth Miller became the focus for me. But one thing I still couldn't understand is this matrix of the matrix of the matriarchs, the women of New Thought. Each one had some serious illness. Even Phineas Quimby, each one had a serious or severe illness. And then, so what I did was that I actually bought 10 of her books, but they didn't arrive before this. But this is the historical text. And when you read about even Mary Baker Eddy, the suffering that she went through and the loss, and also the tuberculosis, other forms of consumption, kidney disease, the loss of their respective husbands, and that was very, very difficult during that time. A woman without a husband, I would not have done very well. In the eyes of others, they had to have a man in their life. So the misogynism just prevailed. However, the illness. I said, well, do you, if I, as Dale has tried to get me to move in the direction of Reverend, so I'll be Dr. Reverend, but if I walked the whole grounds of Unity Village and you put your foot on bricks that cover much of Unity Village, you see Dr. Reverend, Dr. Reverend. And I'm thinking, did New Thought start? Did these people also start New Thought from a point of illness? And I haven't started a New Thought from that point. I don't realize that maybe I was ill emotionally and did not know it, but do you start from a point of illness? And the illness could be a minor pain, emotional pain. How you think about it is what is healing. And again, as I said, I've been to Unity Village 3 times. How I think about the experience that I had there this time in terms of really getting into the campus, having friends there, and deepening the friendship. The friends from Anton. In fact, one guy from Anton came to me and said, "Oh, that's so beautiful to see you here. I only see your face on Zoom." And he says, "So let me see you from the back." I said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Let me assure you that my behind does not define me." And he said, "Oh, I don't mean that. I said, "That's okay. You can look at me when I walk away." But anyway, this was a lovely experience. I guess I could talk. I didn't make notes so that I wouldn't talk on and on and on. But this book, Healing by Words Alone, that's Jesus. Healing by words alone. But this is about New Thought, women as leaders and ministers and men. So thank you.
Thank you, Betty. Thank you. Thank you to everyone who shared this morning. Can we have another round of applause for all of our folks? Great job, great job, great job. I just want to give my infomercial. You can count on me before we leave. If you want to go to Unity Village and be with a bunch of Unity folks, we're having a Fillmore Festival next month. It's the 3rd weekend in August, so it's a weekend retreat, and I'm one of the featured speakers and the musician for the weekend. So I have a link that you can sign up with to get a discount. So if you want to go, let me know. And then also, we have this Unity Ministers group I'm in. We have a fall retreat every year, and Jim Blake, who Darlene mentioned, who's the CEO of Unity Worldwide Headquarters, is the keynote. So that's in September. And again, you can ask me, I'll get you hooked up. So these are wonderful opportunities to deepen your spiritual experience. And if you can't go to the mountain, we bring the mountain to you. So next month, Christy Snow is going to be here on August the 11th to do the Sunday service and a workshop. We have Amy Steinberg coming in October, and I'm also, and I'm also in conversation with Dr. Ruth Miller, who everyone mentioned, and she's a student of Emma Curtis Hopkins, who is called the teacher of teachers. It's true that the early New Thought leaders were all women. So I'll let you know when Dr. Ruth is going to be here. Not that Dr. Ruth. This is Dr. Ruth Miller is a rocket scientist. Seriously, she's worked in robotics as well as being a New Thought minister. She is a fascinating woman. So we're working on her to get her out here. So let's close with a little time of prayer. Everyone take a deep breath. That's a lot. That was a lot. So we anchor this in our hearts. So as we breathe in and we're grounded in an awareness of spirit, we're grounded in our heart center. We are open to the process, the unfolding, understanding of our divinity, our place in the world, the vastness of the true nature of our beingness. And we know that seeds have been planted in our consciousness this morning that will continue to grow and blossom throughout the rest of this day and the rest of our lives. So we know that God is good. God is all there is. We are good. And we pray this in the consciousness demonstrated by our way shower, Jesus the Christ, and all the saints and sages of all the ages that have come to show us the way to truth. And so it is. Amen and amen.